of this workshop is to understand about how we can deal with HTML DOM. So that means, so our workshop will last for 3 days. So up to Saturday, we will have this workshop. So we will spend at least 1.5 hour, 1.5 hour to understand the concept every day. You have any doubts? Towards the end, we will discuss those doubts of every session. And our main intention of this workshop is to have a good idea on what is actually DOM. So what is a document object model and browser object model? Usually we will discuss about that. Generally, we have seen many times people, they know HTML, JavaScript, and with a partial knowledge of HTML, JavaScript, they go for learning advanced technologies like React, Angular, and Vue, and all these. So one problem is many people who know partially, who learned partially HTML, JavaScript, not officially learned HTML, JavaScript. They are not and DOM manipulations, which are very important actually for web development. They are very important for web development. So that is the reason you need to understand about this in detail. We need to discuss about this in detail. So the prerequisite for this workshop to understand is you should have the basic knowledge HTML, the basic knowledge of HTML, and little bit of JavaScript, because in order to see the examples, so we will have to deal with HTML and JavaScript with the DOM. But no worry, HTML is minimum required. JavaScript basic approach I will show you in this session. So you don't need to worry if you are not aware of any JavaScript. I will just give you a basic approach that is enough to understand actually. So minimum HTML basics you have to know in order to understand all this process and to work practically with this DOM and browser model actually. Technically, let's go into the concept directly. So a few points already in order to understand this, you know. First point is what is HTML? The first option, what is HTML? To understand this hierarchy, you need to know first what is HTML. I will not spend much time on this. We will just take a basic point here. Actually, if anyone asks what is HTML, generally we say, so HTML is a presentation language. That is the first point. Actually, it is hypertext markup language. It is hypertext markup language. Hypertext markup language. If you have any doubts, we will discuss about your doubts towards the end. So unnecessarily, please don't raise the hand, right? So if you have any doubts, we will discuss the doubts towards the end. Okay. I will get back to everyone. We can discuss the doubts towards the end. I hope you are clear, right? Yeah. So technically, generally, what is HTML? The basic point you need to know in order to understand the concept of DOM. Actually, we know that HTML is a presentation language. Okay. And HTML stands for hypertext markup language. Actually, the term hyper is the term hyper is derived from a Greek term. So Greek term. So which means beyond. Hyper means beyond actually. So the meaning of actually hypertext is there is a lot of content beyond what you see. That means a hypertext document contains a lot of things beyond what you see. That is what the intention of hypertext. I think many of you know this. If you have learned HTML, what is the meaning of hyper? So hypertext is nothing but, so the text that comprises of hypertext is the text that comprises of content beyond what you see. So it contains content beyond what you see. For example, you have generally, so an option home. So, and this home is actually a link. Technically, this home is a link. Now you can see home in the foreground. And in the background, when you click on home, it will get the home page and it will display the home page. That means what you see, there is more than that. That means there is content beyond this. You can go beyond this and you can see that content. A hypertext document means a document that comprises of so many contents that are beyond what you see actually. That is the main intention. And you all know markup means marking up our information for presentation. We are marking up our information for presentation. That is why it is called an hypertext markup language. These are general things about HTML. I will not go into them because that is basics of HTML that you might have already learned. I am just giving few overview points about that, right? So technically, what is HTML? So it's a presentation language. So generally you say markup language. The word markup means you are marking up your information for presentation. Hypertext means it is beyond what you see. So technically, what actually HTML comprises of? This is important. HTML comprises of elements. HTML comprises of elements arranged in a hierarchy. Elements arranged in a hierarchy called DOM. Elements are arranged in a hierarchy called DOM. So that's what we say, document object model. So in a hierarchy called DOM, that's what we say, document object model. What is the DOM and how this DOM works, we will see. Technically, what is this DOM and how this DOM works, we will see. So HTML comprises of elements. Generally, if many people are not aware of this completely. Sometimes when you call what is HTML, what it contains, then immediately several people give you an answer like HTML is a collection of tags. Officially, HTML is not collection of tags. HTML is a collection of elements actually. HTML presents everything by using some set of elements. These elements are arranged in a order. Hierarchy is an order. They are arranged in an order. They are used in that order. That order, the hierarchical order is called as DOM, is actually called as DOM. So you cannot say that I know HTML, but I don't know DOM. Why? Because HTML is DOM. HTML presents everything in a DOM hierarchy. Technically, in detail, what is this document object model? I will tell you actually. So that means you need to know technically about this, more technically about this. That means you need to understand what is actually, so what is the document object model? Document object model. What is the document object model? And after understanding this, we can practically know about this. After understanding this, deal with this. First, theoretically, we will see some points, then we can go practically working with this. Actually, officially, so what is this DOM, document object model? Actually, the document object model, DOM is a programming API, ML and XML actually. You can say for HTML and XML documents. Technically, if anyone asks what is DOM, there are 2 points. In general, you can say that DOM is a hierarchy. In general, you can say that DOM is a hierarchy. So this is the hierarchy presents its content. But in technical terms, document object model is a programming API actually. It is a programming API for HTML and XML documents. Actually, it defines logical structure. It defines the logical structure documents. It defines the logical structure of documents. So that means technically it defines the structure of document. If anybody asked you, you learned HTML, what is the structure of HTML? What is the structure of a HTML document? So many people, generally when we ask what is the structure of HTML document, then immediately, so usually many people will tell doc type HTML, head section, right? But actually, that is also a part, but that is not the complete structure of HTML document actually. So the complete HTML document logical structure is defined by using DOM. I will explain that. I will show you in a short while. We will see that. So DOM is a programming API for HTML and XML documents. It defines the logical structure of documents. And it defines a way specifies how document can be accessed and manipulated. Actually, it specifies a way for accessing and manipulating XML documents. It specifies a way for accessing and manipulating HTML and XML documents. We will not go into what is XML here. So we will stick to the HTML. Actually, what is HTML? How do we work with HTML? And how do we use the document hierarchy for HTML? We will discuss about that. We will see both the options here. Please, why you are raising your hand? You have any doubts? Then let me know about your doubts towards the end. I hope you are clear, right? So you have any doubts? Then we will discuss towards the end, right? Unnecessarily. So please don't disturb the session. We will go towards the end for discussing about your doubts if you have. Up to this, the point what you know here is DOM defines a logical structure of document. It specifies a way how you can access the document and how you can manipulate the document, This we will see practically. Then you will get more clarity on that, Actually, by using this DOM, technically you should know one point. HTML presents DOM. HTML presents DOM. That means, what does that mean actually? HTML presents all its elements in a hierarchy called DOM. So HTML presents all its elements in a hierarchy called DOM. Now with this DOM, so with DOM, programmers can create and build documents. By using this DOM, programmers can create and build a document. Not only just creating and building the document. So they can create the document. They can build documents. They can navigate their structure. And add or modify or delete elements and content. This is what programmers can do by learning DOM. So if anyone asks you, what is the purpose of JavaScript? What is the main purpose of, generally, you know what is the purpose of JavaScript. If anyone asks, what is the purpose of JavaScript? Then tell me what you will say. What is your answer? If anyone asks, what is the purpose of JavaScript? Then what is your answer? JavaScript is used. What do you say? JavaScript is used for, you will say like it is used for validations. So client side validations, right. So you will say about dynamic pages, okay, validations, okay. But see, I have seen so many answers till now. You have sent me all these answers. But almost all your answers, except one or two people who learned earlier, nobody have given an answer that JavaScript is used to manipulate DOM. That is a simple point. JavaScript, that means you are saying JavaScript is handling client-side validations, client-side interactions. So remember, all this comes under only one point, that is called DOM manipulation. Right? You are talking about anything in JavaScript. That means you are talking about DOM manipulation. Understood? You are talking about anything in JavaScript. That means you are talking about DOM manipulation. So all of you given good answer, like client-side script reduces burden on server. It is a client-side validation. But do you know the high-level aim of JavaScript is to manipulate DOM? That means programmers use JavaScript not just for validations, not just for validations. So usually programmers use a client-side script for DOM manipulation. So what is the relation between HTML and JavaScript actually? The relation between HTML and JavaScript is nothing but HTML presents DOM, and JavaScript manipulates DOM. That is the point you need to know. HTML is a presentation language. It presents the DOM, and JavaScript manipulates that DOM. So that means now programmers use any language, client-side scripting language. By using this language, they can create, they can build a document, they can navigate the structure, they can add elements, they can modify elements, they can delete elements, they can add content, they can modify content, they can delete content. They can completely handle the structure of DOM. They can completely handle the structure of DOM. So HTML presents DOM and JavaScript manipulates that DOM. That means actually JavaScript makes HTML DOM is a static, and JavaScript makes static DOM into dynamic DOM. It makes the static DOM into dynamic. So that is the main concept actually. We will see detailedly. So what is static DOM? What is dynamic DOM? How JavaScript manipulates the DOM? How JavaScript, how HTML presents the DOM? These points we will see. We will detailedly discuss. So first point, technically, what you have to know is what is DOM and what is DOM. So HTML document structure, logical structure defined by using the DOM hierarchy. I will show you that now. So, but one more point you should know is you should know that. So we have DOM, and at the same time, we have what is the browser object model. Browser object model. What is the browser object model? We have DOM, document object model, DOM. We have browser object model. Browser object model we usually call as BOM. Actually, so one basic thing you need to know here is, suppose we are using a browser here. So we are using a browser here. Actually, browser comprises of a lot of things. For example, you can see browser comprises of Usually browser comprises of an address bar. It comprises of an address bar. Usually in the browser address bar, you will have the URL www some amazon.com, so some question mark, some category is equal to something like this, category is equal to mobile something. Now this is the browser address bar, and usually browser you will have the toolbar. Toolbar contains a back button, toolbar contains a refresh button, so forward button, right? It contains a forward button, refresh button, so forward, refresh, back. Browser usually contains so many options, like so many things will be there in the browser. I'm just giving a point. Browser contains history, browser contains plugins. What are those? I will give you a simple point here. Browser contains a lot of things. So plugins are nothing but some additional software tools that are required for browser to handle certain type of documents, to handle certain type of content in the browser. Usually browser contains so many things. Browser comprises of so many things. So browser handles the navigation back, forward. Browser reloads your request. Browser provides the history access, provides the plugins. Browser have an address bar and everything. Now a programmer, so suppose you as a user, you are opening a HTML page, some home.html. We are opening a HTML page. So we are opening a HTML page. Inside the browser, we are opening a HTML page. So inside the browser, we are loading this HTML page, usually. When you are loading the HTML page inside the browser, so what you need to know is HTML presents everything. So HTML presents everything. And you should know that. So this is your document. This is your document. And this document contains so many things, like it may contain images, it may contain forms, it may contain links, so many things it may contain. These all comes under the concept of DOM, document object model. What a page is presenting, and it is under the control of DOM. What a page is presenting, this is all called DOM. But above the DOM, you have a browser. Now we are programmers. So we are programmers. For our programmers, DOM is an API which allows us. Programmers will use this DOM to manipulate the document. Programmer uses this DOM to manipulate the document. That means to manipulate the HTML document. Like it includes the options like add element. That means we can add element. We can delete element. So adding the elements, deleting the elements, adding content, add, delete contents, all such operations, not only element, content, everything. This all comes under the manipulations of DOM. Right, this all comes under the DOM manipulation actually. Now here important part is, if programmer wants to know what plugins are supported in this browser, because suppose I want to watch a video, I want to put a video in the browser, and video requires a plugin called some Flash. Video requires a Flash plugin. So we want a video inside the document, and a video requires a Flash plugin. If browser is not having the plugin called Flash, then it is unable to play that video. So obviously you have seen this regularly. Suppose you are trying to play some online games, then it will say that you need a Java plugin, Java applet plugin, you need a Java plugin, or you need a Flash plugin. You are trying to open a PDF document, then in some browsers it says that you need a PDF plugin. You need a PDF plugin for watching PDF documents. Now, the programmers have to understand whether browser is having that plugin or not, which browser he is using, from which IP address he is accessing. So what is the query strings passed inside that address bar? So what are the previous pages present in the browser history? Then this DOM will not help the programmers to do that. So now the programmers need to manipulate, the programmers need to understand the complete browser related information. So that means you are dealing with video in a HTML document, but whether browser can display that video or not, it can play that video or not, that also you have to verify as a programmer. For example, suppose observe carefully here. So I'm using some Google. Suppose I'm using some Google. So let's Google here, Chrome. Actually, in my computer, so I'm opening the Chrome browser, and in the Chrome browser, I opened Chrome:/settings. I opened Chrome settings. So these are the Chrome settings opened. In the Chrome settings, I am searching for cookies. So there is an option here, site settings. In the site settings, you can see there is an option, cookies are allowed. And I will go here, and what I will see is there is allow cookies. Then here I will simply say that block all cookies. I'm selecting block all cookies. So actually, so you don't need to understand what is a cookie, but if you know that, that's good, great. But just a simple point I will tell you. Suppose you are using any website login screen. In the login screen, you provided your user ID and password. After providing the user ID password in the login screen, now it will verify with the database whether that user ID and password are correctly matching or not. After verifying that user details are correctly matching, for several pages from here, it has to maintain those credentials for him so that every page he don't need to log in. Because successfully verified. After verifying, browser needs to keep his information in the memory for some time until he logged out, or for some time, so for other pages from hereafter, it will not ask to log in again and again. So that is a big hierarchy architecture. I will tell you in different occasions, right? Initially, where our information is temporarily stored so that it can be used across several documents, then browser has to use cookies. Browser will use cookies to store. Cookie is just like a text document. Browser will use these cookies, store your information in the cookies, and keep that information available to other pages that are being accessed in the browser. That is, and these cookies are individual for this browser actually. So that means now what the point is, I blocked the cookies. After blocking the cookies, go here, and here, after blocking the cookies, we blocked the cookies. Block all cookies. Yeah, we blocked all the cookies. After blocking the cookies, I will open Google, Gmail. I'm opening Gmail. After blocking the cookies, I'm using Gmail. I entered some email address, Okay, after that, I clicked on next. After entering the email address, I clicked on next. When I clicked on next, you can see here in the next step, you can observe here that please, I told you, please lower your hands, don't, yeah. So I click on next here. When I click on next, you can observe that. So when I click on next, immediately Google says that your browser has cookies disabled. It says that your browser has cookies disabled. Your browser has cookies disabled. Make sure that cookies are enabled. That means now your Gmail will never work until or unless you enable the cookies, because Gmail completely uses cookies only for handling your email. That means your login credentials are kept there, they are verified for every request, and they are processed from the cookies. Without cookies, Gmail will never work 100%. So that means now the point is how the programmer has written this logic, how the programmer knows that browser is not enabling cookies, browser is not enabling JavaScript, browser is not having the plugins. So that means this is not related to document, this is related to browser. That means now a programmer has to write for the browser, and he need to understand the browser information. That means there is more than a document. There is more than a document, and that is called as programmer have to deal with this browser, have to deal with the browser before they deal with the document. They need to deal with the browser before they are dealing with the document. Then to deal with the browser, then programmer have to use a concept called BOM. That is what you call as browser object model. Browser object model. So that means you have more than DOM, document object model. It is not just document object model. We have two things. We have the document object model and we have the browser object model. Technically, what is document object model and what is browser object model? Programmer needs both of them. So we need BOM and we need DOM. Now, up to this point, what I explained to you, now tell me, so you tell me what you understood, the purpose of BOM. What is the purpose of BOM? Tell me. What is the purpose of BOM? What is the purpose of BOM? I hope everyone understood what is BOM, browser object model. What is the purpose of BOM? Browser object model. What is the purpose of BOM? Can anyone? What you understood up to this point? What do you understood by the purpose of BOM? What is browser object model? Yeah, good. Yeah, good. So BOM exposes the browser functionality, good. It deals with the browser manipulations, good, right? So at high level, what is the purpose of BOM? At high level, the purpose of BOM, browser object model, it allows, so yeah, it allows the programmer to understand about the browser capabilities. Understood? It allows the programmer to understand the browser capabilities. And it allows to handle the browser. So it allows to handle the browser capabilities and the browser, right? So the purpose of BOM is to understand the browser, to manipulate the browser. You can open the browser, you can close the browser, you can identify whether browser is having plugins or not. So browser related everything you can manage by using this BOM. What BOM actually contains, I will explain. We will see that what actually BOM contains. Now, what is the purpose of DOM? Tell me. What is the purpose of DOM? Document object model. What is the purpose of DOM? Tell me. What is the purpose of DOM? Document object model. What is the purpose of document object model? Good. The purpose of document object model is to manipulate your HTML document. Understood? To manipulate the browser, we need BOM. To manipulate the document in the browser. To manipulate the document in the browser. Can I say in this way? Simple. Right? To manipulate the document in the browser. So it will not manipulate JavaScript. The JavaScript manipulates DOM. Okay. Right? Yeah. So technically, so the purpose of BOM and DOM. What is browser object model? So it represents the browser. It represents the browser model. It represents the browser model. So that means it defines a set of objects. It defines a set of objects that are used to manipulate the browser. It defines a set of objects that are used to manipulate the browser. Technically defines set of objects that are used to manipulate the browser. So usually programmer uses BOM, browser object model, to handle interaction with regard to browser. So programmer can know about browser. And its capabilities. So by using BOM, browser object model, so that is the important point here. Now, what this browser object model contains, I will tell you. So for example, see here, I will go back now. After going back here, I will enable cookies, allow all cookies. And I am using Gmail. And I am typing some Gmail. And here I want to sign in, or I want to perform some operations here. Now, when you open this Gmail this time, and because I enabled the cookies, I'm allowing the cookies now. So then how we can manipulate these things? So I will go to the sign in and I will ask for user ID and passwords. Then automatically it will get me the previously used credentials. It will get me to enter the passwords and everything. Now, if I enter previously I was unable to go into the password option because it is unable to get my user ID also because cookies are disabled. Now I enabled the cookies. That means a developer who is writing for client side, that meant. So that means even you are a Java developer or a .NET developer or a PHP developer, any web developer, belong to any technology. So you are developing an application which has to be accessed on browser. Then you must know how to handle the browser first. That means you will learn about cookies. In .NET, you will learn about cookies. So that, but many people, they know about cookies, but they don't know whether browser can recognize the cookies or not. So to understand whether browser is having the cookies or not, how to write a program. That means our programmers know about cookies, but our programmers don't know how browser handles these cookies. right? Then how you are an incomplete developer? That means you know great about cookies, but you don't know how the cookies are handled by browser. Then it is not great. So that means these are very primary things that people miss when they go at high level. That means they learned about cookies, but they don't know how to know whether cookies are enabled or not. That means if anybody asked you a question, you learned Java, you learned .NET, you learned PHP, any web technology, you learned about cookies. They will say, yes, sir, I learned cookies, I learned sessions, I learned so many things there. Now, if anyone asks you a question like, how you know browser is enabled with cookies or not? Because if browser is not enabled with cookies, then I have to prompt him saying that please enable cookies, then only it can work. But our people majority, they don't know how to identify whether browser is enabled cookies. They cannot say that go to browser settings and see. They have to write a program which go to the browser settings and verify whether the cookies are enabled or not and shows in a simple message. Then this requires a program for programmers to manipulate the browser. So DOM is an API. DOM is an API for manipulating the documents. And so BOM, you can say that BOM is an programming API for browser manipulations. In simple way, we have to know this. BOM is a programming API for browser manipulations. BOM is programming API for browser manipulations. It is the programming API for browser manipulations. Now, what this BOM contains, that means we are going to learn two things actually. So I just given in the workshop overview that we are going to learn a DOM, but you cannot learn DOM without knowing BOM, browser object model. So you should know that there is a higher hierarchy of this browser object model. What browser object model, what it contains actually, what is the basic browser object model architecture? I will show you. Just for your reference, I will copy this as a diagram. I will just give you here. So this is the basic diagram I given you, right? I will upload all this into an online repository and I will share you the online link to you so that you can get this document from there, right? I will share you at the end about this document link where I am going to upload this, right? Fine. Now, the first point, I think everyone is clear about what is BOM and what is DOM. I hope everyone is clear about BOM, DOM. Everyone is clear? So what is browser object model and what is document object model? These are the two things we need to get. Good. Okay, now let's go into the concept now, right? Fine. Now let's go into the concept. Okay, good. Now let's go into the concept. What actually BOM comprises of? That means what actually the browser model comprises of, and how generally you handle the browser model. So that means how BOM comprises of. So, and how we can handle this BOM, right? Let's see the browser model, what actually the browser model comprises of. Actually, at higher level, usually the browser comprises of, so that means the browser object model comprises of, let's see. At higher level, the browser comprises of, you generally see the browser, and at higher level, you will see that browser is having, actually, technically browser is having, right? Yeah, technically, you can see that browser is actually having. So let's keep this, okay? And browser is actually having a simple, yeah. So browser is actually having at the higher hierarchy, hierarchy, you can see that. Browser is having, generally, it comprises of, browser comprises of at the parent level, browser contains a window. The browser, you know that browser entire is starting with a window. At parent level, it contains so a window. At parent level, at window. So window. At parent level, it contains a window. So we'll go in detail. So we will see in detail about that browser model. It contains a window, right? So this is the window. That means window is the parent. Window is the parent. Okay. So at the high level, that means you know that generally browser is a window. Generally, you know that browser is a window. So that means browser is opened in a window. Now, inside this window, technically, the browser window comprises of a lot of components inside the window. What are the components of browser window? So what are the components of browser window? And how it actually happens? That means the options, how it will handle actually. Technically, as I showed you, the browser model, it comprises of the parent window. In the window, it will have so many things. So usually in the browser window, it comprises of so many things. In the browser window, let's say, yeah, the browser window actually comprises of, I'm just discussing about currently only browser model actually. We are discussing about the browser model. In the browser window, the first one is actually window will comprise of, it contains several other windows inside this, a parent window and a child window, parent-child hierarchy frames. Actually, window contains the options. Window contains the options, like generally we call these options. Yeah, this is the parent. And usually window contains the options like self. It contains self. What is that? I will explain. Programmatically, I will explain. So we will see technically, programmatically how to handle that. It contains self. It contains window. It contains window. That means in the window, again, it contains. So this all comes under, what is self, what is parent, what is top, we will discuss about that. That is point. And next one, the window usually comprises of, technically the window comprises of, usually, this window contains a document. This window comprises of a document. Usually it contains a document. The window comprises of a document. Usually the window contains a document. That means window opens your HTML document. That means actually contains a document. So window actually comprises of a document. It contains document. It contains document. So document. So this is actually considered as a document object. This is considered as a document object. Document object. And the window comprises of another important, the window usually comprises of, it actually comprises of another important part is, these are all about the browser, right? These are all about the browser. So browser window comprises of frames. I think in HTML you have learned about frames. Browser window contains frames. And frames is an array. Actually, frames is an array. I represented that an array. That means it is an array of window objects. It is an array of window objects. Frames is an array of window objects. That means a window is again divided into several windows. A window is again divided into several windows. We generally call that as frames. I think you know that. How to programmatically handle, I will tell you. In a separate session, we will discuss about that. Means I will tell you programming how to do. Don't worry. Temporarily, I am showing you one simple approach. Just observe it. No need to worry what I am writing, where I am writing. How to do this, I will explain you. In the next level, we will see that. So here you can see this is an HTML page. So we are having an HTML page. So generally we have a HTML page, doc type HTML, type HTML and HTML and okay. And here in the HTML we have so the head section, some title, okay, some frame, okay. And this is actually a window. This is a browser window. So we open this in a browser window. Usually this is a window. In this window, it can have several windows. Generally, you know, we can create a frame set. So with the rows is equal to some 15%, so 70% and 15%, something like frames we are designing. It contains a frame. So that means frame set comprises of frame. Usually frame set comprises of frames. It will comprise of frames. So frame set is having frame. A set of frames are present inside the frame set. Usually you can see that now the window is divided into several other windows now. So that means it is a collection of windows inside it. These are all comes under actually the frames. Actually, the browser window comprises of document, frames, okay, and the browser window usually it comprises of important is it comprises of location. Browser window contains a location. It contains a location. It comprises of location. So it contains location. Usually, so location is nothing but actually location is a location location object. It is a location object. I will tell you the purpose of these objects. Yeah, I tell you the purpose of these objects. Location, and we have another important. These are all the parts of browser model, and after the location. So this is not order, just these are all the contents inside the window. You usually have a history. So you usually have a history. That means in the window we have history. Actually, this represents an history object. And in the window it contains another object. In the window, it contains another object. So that is called, the window comprises of another one that is called navigator. The window comprises of another one. So the window comprises of another one. And this is called navigator. So window contains navigator. It comprises of navigator. Navigator is actually a navigator object. Navigator object. It is a navigator object. So navigator have a navigator object. Now the point here is what is the purpose of this? We will understand that in a short while. We will discuss about these points. And actually this navigator object internally actually comprises of two more things inside them. Navigator comprises of two more things. One is navigator have a collection. So navigator usually have a collection of plugins, and it is having a MIME types, plugins and MIME types. So navigator object is having a collection of plugins and MIME types. So it is having plugins. Navigator is having plugins. So it is a collection of plugins. Navigator is having plugins. So we call as plugins. Plugins. Plugins is an array. It is an array. It is an array of plugins. It is an array of plugins. And the navigator is having another option called MIME types. Navigator is having MIME types. This all I will explain. We will discuss about that. Navigator is having MIME types. So it is having MIME types is also a plugin. So it is also an array. MIME types is also an array. So this is actually considered as the browser object model. This is considered as the browser object model. Considered as the browser object model. This is the browser object model. Now important is this is the browser model. Now here, as I told you in the concept of browser object model. So the browser object model is responsible for handling. So the browser model is responsible for handling browser manipulations. And you having so many objects inside it. In the browser model. So now, as I already discussed a few points, now tell me what kind of manipulations a browser model can handle. Can you tell me what kind of manipulations a browser model can handle? What kind of manipulations a browser model can handle? Can you guess anything? What type of manipulations a model can handle? What kind of manipulations? Yeah. See. Okay. Client location of objects. Okay, good. Anything else? So what manipulations a browser model can handle? So yeah. Actually, see, the browser model contains collection of several objects. Okay, let me explain that. Browser model contains collection of objects, and the browser objects, and what is their purpose, I will tell you. Then we can practically handle this, right? Yeah. See, technically, the browser objects and their purpose, how they are handled, how they are manipulated. Actually, we have a browser object. What are the browser objects? Important browser objects and description. I will just give you a browser object and description. Actually, we have browser object. The first object you will see is a window object. Actually, what is the purpose of window object is nothing but it provides a set of properties and methods. It provides a set of properties and methods that are used. So set of properties and methods which are used to manipulate the browser window, like open window, close window, minimize window, window, etc. That means we can open window. Window related manipulations are managed by using window object. That means a programmer can use window object to manipulate the browser window. That means he can open the window, close the window, restore the window, minimize the window. He can handle manipulations related to window interactions. Window manipulations means like open window, close window, restore window, resize window. All such things can be handled by using window object. That is the window object. Under the window only, these frames will come, because frames are array of window objects. These frames will come under that. The major objects in the browser are window. Another important is location. Actually, location object provides a set of properties and methods, which are used to know the client location details, location details, which are used to know the client location details, like like URL, like IP address, like the path, the file name, etc. All this. That means so many things like server name, port number. All these details we can access by using this location object. So location object provides a set of and methods which are used to know the client location details. That means which IP address he is using, so from which URL he is accessing, so what is the server, what is the port number he is using. All such information you can access by using this location object. For example, suppose I'm opening some website like some speed test. I'm opening the website like some speed test. When I open the website like speed test, you can see that it says that your IP currently this. How come they know my IP address? That means how they are able to access my IP address, right? That means how can they know my IP address? So which platform I am using, which IP address I am working with. That means how they are capable of knowing my IP address. So when I hit this URL, according to that, from where I am requesting, they can do this. They can access that. They can do that. That means the point here is technically. So this location related details are accessed and handled by using this location object. Client location details we can access by using location object. Similarly, history provides a set of properties and methods which are used to manipulate the browser history to know and manipulate the browser history, like which page he visited previously, how many pages he visited previously. So all such information about the history we can access and we can know by using an history object. We can access and we can use by using an history object. So window, location, history, and navigator object. I will show you this practically. No need to worry about them. So practically we will discuss about that, right? So technically, navigator object, I will give one example practically on that so that you can understand, right? Yeah. Now, navigator object, it provides a set of properties and methods. So which are used client browser details, like which browser, browser family name, so browser version, what plugins are supported, what MIME types are supported, is handled by using navigator object. It provides a set of properties and methods which are used to handle the navigation details, that means navigator object contains all this. And we have a document object. Technically, it provides it provides, it provides, it provides access to the DOM model. It provides access to the DOM model. That means it provides set of properties and methods that are used to manipulate the HTML document in browser. The HTML document in browser. That from HTML document you want to access anything. You want to manipulate the HTML document inside the browser. Those are provided by using the document. So document provides the DOM hierarchy from where you can manipulate and manage your DOM manipulations. So technically, so your browser comprises of important models. These we have a window, we have a location, we have a history, we have navigator and document. These are the objects of browser model. So window provides properties and methods to handle the window related manipulations. Client location details are handled through location object. History is managed by using history. Navigator is browser details, and document is manipulated using this document object. This document contains several more hierarchy inside it. That's what we call as DOM, that we will see in the next. Now what here is we need to understand and we need to know how do we deal with these objects, how do we work and how do we deal with these objects. That means practically understanding and working with these browser objects. We need to know how to work with we can deal with these browser objects and work with these browser objects, so that we next session tomorrow we will start the practical approach about working with this BOM model. I hope everyone is clear with this, right? You genius people want coding immediately without knowing the basics. I know such super powered genius people will come to these sessions, right? But don't for